All right, it's Garson, and I know there's some Firebender fans out there. There's also some Monk fans out there, so pay attention. Ready? We're gonna do a little firebending myself. Here we go. So, I'm gonna toss this firebolt. Can't trip. Hi-ya! Wow, nice crit. Da-da-da. Pop out some numbers. There we go. 43. Damn, that was pretty good. All right, so let's get ahead. This is Lae'zel's show. Bring it on. Yeah, hit me. Hit me. Counterattack. You're dead. Okay, so now what we can do is a little bit of Flames of the Fire Snake. Nice job. Alright, and then we get a free unarmed strike out of that, so we can kick. Oh yeah, you're dead. Okay, now where's Murphy? Come here, Murphy. Bring it on. Bring it on. I can even throw stuff. Ready? I'm gonna throw a knife at him. So, I got a whole sort of tactical attack. There we go. Do a little fire damage with that too. Nice. Come here, Murphy. Nice miss. Get countered attack. Blah. Oh, yeah? Ooh, it hit me. Alright, so let's see. Have I built up enough fire acuity? I think so. So, every one of these should be much more accurate, even with disadvantage. Let's toast them. Oh, yeah? Well, what about one of these? I'm gonna hold you down. Bonk. And because of that, I can do a flurry of blows, and these are gonna crit. So this is gonna hurt, Murphy. I'm sorry. All right. Some martial arts, some fire magic, some 4 elements. Well, maybe it's just one. We're here to talk about the monk of 4 elements, the way of 4 elements, right? I've done just a pure monk. You know why? Because you guys are awesome, and I appreciate you for watching. We're going to talk about the way of 4 elements, and as always, thanks for watching. If you want to support the channel, or you got some cool, crazy requests or whatnot, let me know, because I don't do build videos per se. What I do is I get cool ideas, and I want to show you the building blocks to make your own cool characters, or maybe you were trying something, it didn't work out for you, or maybe like Camo here, he said, dude, I love the way you showed me a whole new appreciation for Arcane Trickster, even just going 12 levels of Rogue. Can you show me something similar for Element Monk? I feel like it's underrated. I feel the same way, but you know who doesn't? Richard. Richard loves Monk, just like probably more than I do, and he's got way better tips and tricks for Monk. He actually helped me improve a build, this build that I ran in honor mode. So let's take a look at 4 elements, and then I'm gonna actually do some build time like usual. But Firebender fans rejoice, right? So yeah, check out later in the video if you want to support the channel, but for now let me help you first get a cool, different, maybe better appreciation for this underrated subclass. Okay, so a real crash course on monks. We're kind of blitz through this, blaze through it, if you will, right? Monks are kind of overtuned. I don't want to talk about this. I did a really long video on Way of the Hand Monk specifically, but monks in general really benefit from strength, dex, and wisdom, and that's really all they need. You don't even have to have both dex and strength. You can have a very versatile monk. You can go with different choices, and thanks to Way of the Elements, really any subclass, but Way of the Elements really utilizes wisdom in a fun way while already getting some good benefits from that stat. So they're really overtuned because they know what stats they want, and they really take a lot of power out of them. Okay, like they bring them to the next level. But if you don't know, if you don't have a weapon equipped, right? Let's take this staff off, for instance. Your unarmed attacks are actually really weak, but when you're a monk, right at level 1, you get some dice damage, and you get to add your strength and dexterity modifier. Normally it would just be 1 damage plus your strength modifier, and it'd be still pretty weak, not worth going for. So you should really equip a weapon. But if you're a monk, even just 1 level, you can now start using unarmed strikes. And even better than that, whether you hit with your main unarmed strike with using an action, or you just use your weapon attack, where that staff go, wormling staff. There it is. Okay, so if I were to attack with this, right, I would get a free bonus action unarmed attack, and I wouldn't have to use any key points or anything like that. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So any kind of monk gets the kind of benefits. So if you want to play unarmed combat, you really kind of have to play a little bit of monk in your multi-class, or just go all the way in, right? You also get a lot of incentive for not wearing armor and shields. For instance, you get bonus movement class, and you get basically a wisdom bonus to armor class on top of your normal dexterity benefits. Okay, so dexterity is great, especially when you're unarmed. Wisdom now adds into it. It's sort of like mage armor, but the more you level up your wisdom, the more you benefit like mage armor. It won't It won't mix well with things like mage armor or the barbarian version, but it'll take whatever's highest. So if your wisdom's really high, you might want to go monk if you're not wearing any armor and shields, because you get a bonus, okay? Strength or dexterity, which should I go for? Hey, you play the monk the way you want to. I really love strength on monks because Tavern Brawler is kind of out of this world for unarmed attacks, plus the benefit of like throwing stuff, okay? But you can play a strictly dexterity based monk or like a dexterity wisdom based monk. There's different reasons for it. Strength, you really want to go Tavern Brawler. It makes your fist attacks insanely strong, okay, and super accurate. So if you're going to use something like the strength elixirs, like 27 strength here for your elixir slot, really no way better way to do it, and it really works well on 4 elements. However, if you want to go dex, you get a lot of side benefits for going dex. It's one of the best stats in the game. You get armor class, you get initiative, you get saving throw benefits, and so much more, okay? So if you wanted to play a dex character, that's a-okay too, because you have monk weapons. And what monk weapons does is it can take things that are usually strength weapons, like this quarterstaff here. If you wanted to bonk people with the staff, you can use either strength or dex thanks to this trait that comes from level 1 monk. It's just going to use whatever's higher, dex or strength. So you do you. You can make your monk in a variety of different ways thanks to this ability, okay? So key points. Key points are sort of like battle master points or bardic inspiration points. They come back on short rest, right? And you get a lot of them, a lot more of them the more you level up your monk. So if you want to vest all the way to level 12 monk, you'll get the benefit of even more resource points here, okay? And they come back on short rest. So like if we short rest right now, we're up to 13. Plus, that's every short rest we have 13. That's wild. You use them for special offensive moves and defensive moves. Like Flurry of Blows is insane because you attack twice with your fist attacks. So if you can enhance your fist attacks for 1 bonus action and key point, you can't do better. It's insane. But you could also stun targets using your key points, right? 1 key point, you can lock somebody down for an entire turn if you possibly stun them, okay? While doing damage. You can deflect missiles with key points. You can do a reaction for free, but then you can actually kill them with their own missile by throwing their arrow back at them for 1 key point. Pretty fun when it happens. Richard would highly, like, he'll kill me if I don't tell you this. So Step of the Wind is super, super broken. You get this right off the bat when you get your, I think it's like level 1 or 2. I think it's level 2 you get this. There's a dash option or a disengage option. And what Richard would really like you to know is if you blow 1 key point on either of these, right, you can now dash or disengage instead of an action. You can now do it for a bonus action for only 1 key point, which you should have a lot of, okay? But what he wants you to know, more importantly, is jump no longer requires bonus action. You can jump as many times as you have movement speed remaining, okay? And as a monk, you should have a lot of extra movement speed. And if you didn't know the trick with jumping, jumping gives you a lot of extra distance instead of wasting it on running up staircases and stuff. It's really good for optimizing how much you can move around an area, get to your targets, and punch the crap out of them, okay? So really high utility with Step of the Wind. I wanted to highlight that for you, non-monk players. Patient defense is great for 1 key point. You're going to have advantage against attackers, whether it's dexterity saving throw spells or just generic arrows and punches and stuff, okay? And then we use key points as sort of like our spell slots for the subclass, the 4 elements, which we're here to talk about. So level 3, you're going to pick your subclass. Now you have new ways to use your key points, and they're kind of like spells, but they're not. So they come with downsides and some upsides. For instance, you can't be silenced, or you can be silenced, but you can still quote unquote cast these spells. So if you wanted to cast a fireball, but someone silenced you or you were in the bubble, you can still toss this out because it's not really a spell. Even cooler than that, if you wanted to mix a monk with a barbarian and rage, you can actually cast Fireball, Flames of the Phoenix, while in rage. So that's kind of crazy. These don't cast as spells, right? So that means that you can't counterspell them, but you also can't use feats like Spell Sniper, or you can't go into Draconic Sorcerer and get the bonus to that fire element or whatever you're looking for. Certain pieces of gear don't play well with these, like this is only on cantrips, or I should say this is only on cantrips, so it wouldn't work because none of these count as a cantrip. Or there's the Elemental Ring, where is it? Right here. None of these count as spells, so you can't use the Elemental Infusion Ring to add more damage. It kind of sucks, but it kind of you take the good with the bad, right? Different spells actually have different stat requirements. I'll keep things simple. Certain spells like Fangs of the Fire Snake are really just a weapon attack, which is amazing because of what this thing does, right? It gives you extra fire damage. It has some crazy range. This is a weapon attack? What? And it actually makes your next melee attack stronger. So this is all based on just if you can land your staff hit, you can land this. However, just like you'd imagine, Scorching Ray and Fireball, or rather Embrace the Inferno and Flames of the Phoenix, are actually just basically how spells work. They use your wisdom spell modifier to land the spell, okay? And it's a bit of a confusing and shameful thing that, like, you can't see, like a sorcerer could see their charisma bonus. So you'll have to play around with these or take my word for it. But you want to basically invest into your weapon attacks and your wisdom, okay? So different spells do different things, of course. You even have this cool resource of if you're running out of key points, if you're outside of combat, you can recover half of your key points to keep you going even longer. So the more you've invested in Monk, the more ammo you really have for these cool attacks and abilities and quote-unquote spells, right? There's even a really great option if you've never used hold spells before. They're immensely powerful. They guarantee criticals and they keep somebody stun locked, okay? So you get Clench of the North Wind. This is essentially a hold person spell, okay? So again, can't be silenced. I wouldn't try doing this during Enrage because you can't concentrate, but you know, if someone's trying to block you and counterspell you, they can't. So Clench of the Wind, very powerful, and it even upgrades to 2 targets, okay? Let's talk about that for a second. If you invest enough into element of the four elements, you actually get some of your spells to upgrade. Like Embrace the Inferno now has, instead of 3 attacks, it's now 4 attacks. Flames of the Phoenix now upgrades to what would be, I think, a level 5 spell slot of Fireball. And Clench of the Wind now targets 2 characters rather than 1. So that's pretty good value for the 3 key points you're using it on, okay? 4 elements though, well, I know for sure because I've ran it in honor mode, and this is why I'm giving you my example. I think fire is really the best element to go for. Thunder is definitely a good contender because there's definitely gear for that, like thunder punching gloves and reverb stuff. Reverb stuff is really powerful, and both fire and thunder can get you the powerful acuity effects, which can make your spells really accurate, okay? So not so much for the other stuff because there's not a lot of good gear variety or availability and earliness to kind of build a character around these elements. So it's 4 elements, I guess, but you should really, my point is, focus on one element. You'll have a much better time with this. Maybe that's your confusion, and that was why you didn't think this was as strong as it could be. I'm here to show you otherwise, right? So let's focus on fire for this element. And remember, these are not spells, so there could be some, you know, nuances that kind of annoy you, or you have to play around or build differently than, say, a sorcerer or a wizard, okay? But why do I recommend fire first and foremost? Firebenders, duh. No, firebenders are awesome. Yeah, I watched Airbender. I think a lot of us did. But Firebender aside, you can get a lot of the gear or abilities or spells early on. Like, you start right off the bat, level 3, I think, with an option to choose Fangs of the Fire Snake. So while there are a lot of spells I'm not demonstrating here, I definitely recommend this one because, again, you're probably building your monk to attack with their weapon or unarmed strikes, and this is solely going to benefit from that. This is an attack with, like I said, look at this range on this. This is a weapon attack, right? So as a weapon attack, you do additional 1d10, and it's going to buff your next melee attack, whether it's weapon or fist, with another 1d4 fire. So you're always doing fire damage thanks to something like this, right? And so this is really early, right? But what about the other fire spells? Well, you get the Scorching Ray equivalent, pretty mid, like level 6 or so, I forget, right? And it will upgrade later on. So this actually gets more value the more you invest in Monk if you want to do it that way, right? And later on, you get a whole Fireball spell. So this is the equivalent, Flames of the Phoenix's Fireball, essentially. And it too will get stronger if you upgrade into it, okay? So these are powerful fire spells you're going to use on Sorcerer or Wizard anyway. And you get them as a Monk and you use key points, which come back on short rest. This is really cool. And this is a really cool hybrid character of using your fist, your weapon, and these cool fire spells all rolled into one, right? And so these spells upgrade, so you're good early, you're good mid, and you're getting stronger later, right? So fire acuity is really the biggest selling point. Anything that has to do with fire, grab this hat in Act 2, and this is going to make those fire spells that use wisdom hit a lot more accurately, or more importantly, be able to land Clench of the Wind almost every single time on 2 targets. That's really valuable. The way it works is, as you do fire damage, you're going to get more accurate with your spell attacks, okay? So Clench of the Wind is definitely a high reason you want to use fire acuity, plus you want to land your fireballs, okay? And I highly recommend the staff. I'm not going to go into all the details here. Here's some highlight reasons why, but there's a neat fire damage on it. Bludgeoning damage is fantastic, and thanks to Monk Weapon, you can use this with strength or dexterity. And on top of that, once you get the Drake Throat, you can add more element damage to it, so you can stack that fire damage, and it gives you this cantrip. So you can't benefit from things like this with your monk spells, but this staff gives you a cantrip of Firebolt for free while you wield it. And so you can now use Wisdom not only as a cantrip with, you know, a ranged cantrip that uses fire damage, right? But also it's going to benefit from Wisdom. And you can use this piece of gear like the Necklace of Element Augmentation. It's not going to be the strongest Firebolt ever, but now you have a reliable in-character kind of firebender fireball, and you don't have to use your, you know, limited resources. You can save those for the stronger attacks, okay? So just some reasons why I think that staff is really the best in slot. And then it's not really as resisted as you think it is. I know in Tactician and Honor Mode, we've talked about this a lot. Fire resistance comes up a lot, and I'm a believer that it's not a big deal because you have some ally that runs Arsonist Oil, which removes the fire resistance for a couple turns. That's actually really easy to get rid of, and you get these oils by vendors really often, honestly. So in those fights where you really need your full fire damage, you're really not blocked off. And maybe you want to take the feat for element damage. That's why I said you want to focus on just one element, and fire would be like the one element you really want this feat that eliminates the resistances and helps you out a little bit. But I digress. I think Arsonist is the way to go. And there also is the really early gloves you can get for your monk. Monks typically want to use these specific gloves that give them a little elemental damage on their punches, and they usually come with this like free spell on short rest or long rest. So there's some added benefits, but since some monks don't use weapons at all, right? And this is a way to enhance your punching attacks, okay? So they usually have some kind of element, but you get these later in the game, I feel like. And I know the fire gloves come in early at like when you go into the Kresh, just after you pass the Githyanki patrol, okay? So you can actually get these fairly early for your fire monk. You can get the staff fairly early for your fire monk, and you can use this cool spell fairly early on your fire monk. Right off the bat, you're feeling like a firebender or an elemental monk. It's really cool. So what is the build then? What's under the hood? I'll build it for you. It's really easy. We're just going to go 12 levels a monk. Maybe you could do some fancy multi-class, but like Arcane Trickster, I was trying to show you really don't need to do that, and I really like playing pure classes. So here's the Cinder and Sizzle. Let's see what's cooking. So we got 4 elements, the Way of 4 Elements, level 12. You can go 8 or 10 strength, because if you dump this stat and just use an elixir, you can get 21 or even 27 strength if you're willing to give up that elixir slot, right? So you can use those stats in Dex, Con, and Wisdom. Dexterity is good for a lot of reasons. I kind of go over it a little bit every video, it seems. So I digress. But it gives you some armor class, lets you use some weapons, has some initiative. Constitution relates a lot to concentration, and while that's not too important, it is important for HP. So you want a little bit of Constitution, at least 14 in my opinion. And 17 Wisdom, we can get up to 20 if we start with 17. The way we'll do it is we'll take a feat of 2 Wisdom later on, and we'll probably cap it off with Resilient or some other way like Hag Hair. But Resilient's pretty nice because it gives you the saving throw proficiency, okay? But the first feat you should probably take is Tavern Brawler, especially if you're going to blow your Elixir of Strength, okay? Tavern Brawler is extremely strong. It's the reason my Flurry of Blows does 46 to 66 damage, and I'm not even a Way of Hand monk. It's crazy. Okay, so Tavern Brawler, excellent. You should really go for it, especially because it enhances your Fangs of the Fire Snake, your off punching and stuff like that, okay? Gear, Giant Elixir. I went the strength route. You could have went the dex route. This gives you either 21 or later on 27 strength. We got the Cinder Gloves, like I talked about. We're going to add some fire damage to our gloves, to our punches. We're going to have some fire damage thanks to the Wormling Staff, and we can give it double the fire damage thanks to the Drake Throat for the whole day. And we really want to do that because we have the fire acuity hat. So like I said, every time you do fire damage, you're more likely to hit with your powerful spells, okay? So you also want to go amulet because I'm using the wormling staff. I can now use a cantrip, and that cantrip can be just a little bit stronger since I am investing in wisdom. This amulet will give me a little more fire damage on my cantrip, okay? In Act 2, like at the tail end of it, you get these awesome monk boots. Nobody else wants to use these because what they do is they take your wisdom and they add it to your unarmed attacks, and that's another reason why this is so powerful, okay? So I'm getting bludgeoning damage on my punches from my wisdom. Wisdom's really adding up in value, okay? And that's pretty much it. There's some really great cloth gear. Vest is probably one of the best. I just put it on here because it's just, you know, looks snazzy, works for our monk. So without further ado, let me try and give you one more demonstration now that you know what's under the hood. All right, let me pull back the notes real quick. Here we go. And like I said, if you have some allies to haste you, even better. Really draw out your latent potential as a firebender. We're going to use some arsonist oil on some ranged attacks here because I can get rid of that fire resistance on that robot. Ready? There we go. Now he no longer resists fire. And what I'll do is be a pansy and run away and hide because I am hasting laser. Da-da-da. Alright, go team. Shield. Alright. Where is Gale? Alright, so we know who this is. Ready? This is Sacred Flame always hits. Haha. And now I will sink myself. Bye-bye. Okay. And let's get to some monk action. Nice try. Deflect missiles. Now throw it back at him. Bam! Nice hit. Look at that. And that even does some fire damage too. So we're building up acuity already. And that's the goal. This guy, thanks to our allies, has arsonist oil. No longer resists fire, okay? So the reason that's important is because we can do our full damage and our full fire damage, kick his butt, right? And then we can also, let's see, now that I've built up a decent chunk of fire acuity, right, I could probably get you and you 95% lockdown. Whoa, bam, okay? Which is great because let me go ahead and dodge this guy. Boom, okay. And if I walk up to this dude now that he's got the hold person spell on him, this is going to critically hit every single hit. Look at that. Alright. Doing some freaking crazy damage already. Alright. Nice job. I can counter with the cloth piece. That's right. We're doing some more acuity. If I don't take hits, I get to keep that higher accuracy on my spells. Alright, robot got his fire resistance back. That's a-okay. We'll deal with him in a moment. Okay, you're good to go. He's held down, perfect. So with his held down, right, anything I do is now a critical hit. So what I'll do, or if you're up close, it's a critical hit. You gotta walk up to the guy. So that's a crit. And then using Flames of the Fire Snake actually makes anything, any melee attack I do even more damage. So I can now kick this guy for free as a bonus action, and then I still have my extra attack because I am a martial, so I can do another Flames of the Fire Snake on maybe that guy, or I could just finish this guy off. Well, bam! And like I said, I now have a cantrip, so if I can't get to somebody, I have a good old reliable cantrip, doesn't use key points, and I can just hit him with that. Boom! Decent damage, and now we'll deal with the robot. Come on in. So we'll get our buddy back out here now that it's safe. I can go ahead and shoot that robot again, get rid of the fire resistances. Nice job. Okay, back up. Goes for the hit, hits me, not a big deal. Alright. That guy's still held down. He's like, please just end it. Don't worry, I will. So, let's go up and we just have fun with one of these moves. There we go. If you hold them down, then even this strength save isn't going to be a problem on something like one of these other element monk fists. Alright, but yeah, this guy no longer resists, so we can do a lot of damage to him with our fire spell. Boom. Alright, got one more key point. Let's do another one. Boom. Okay, and we even get a free punch. Whoa, bam. There you go. Yeah. Kicking butt. That's a firebender. Alright, ready? Just hit him. He's done. Now kick him for good measure. Wabaya. And that's gonna do it. Bubble. All right. So obviously, especially with some team support, good synergies right there. I really don't see why people complain that Fire Monk is any less of, I don't know, a monk. It's still monk. It's strong, right? So let me pop these back out. There's your Fire Monk. You can do crazier stuff with multi-classing, but I do like to advocate even just a level 12 pure class can be very strong. You just got to know what's under the hood. And some of the confusing stuff, I get it. This works off of your attack roll. This works off of wisdom. That can be frustrating. So just try to give you the building blocks to go and make cool characters, right? Because you guys are my sponsors. And sometimes we wonder, hey, that's a cool level 12 build, right? But how do you actually play it? So come watch the live stream, because I get cool ideas from you guys, but I want to see them not in theory, not just do build videos. I want to break it down for you, and even for myself, and try and run it in honor mode, because I think it's the best mode. I want you to play it too, but I want you to play it with your character that you came up with, and then tell me, bro, I beat honor mode, it was awesome, and I'm like, that's amazing, but also go play it again, because it's amazing. I love replaying it. I like playing it on live stream. So if you can catch the stream, come on in, we have more fun. But if you just want to drop a comment, or you've got a cool idea, or even a question, let me know. You guys are my sponsors, and I really appreciate, especially lately, the support's been wild. So if you want to support the channel, it's as low as it's going to get on YouTube memberships, but the best support is just enjoying the video, having fun, and for my sake, go out and beat honor mode and let me know. All right, until then, I'll see you in the chat, or I'll see you next video. Have a good one.